Crunch time is now in the race for the White House. Both sets of candidates are hitting key swing states this week. The Harris-Walz camp crisscrossing the all-important Georgia, while GOP vice presidential nominee JD Vance, of course, visits Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Meanwhile, former President Trump is facing new legal issues with a new indictment from special counsel Jack Smith. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington. So, Bree, what do we tackle first here? What are you hearing today?
So, Christy, there is a lot to unravel, but we do know that both campaigns are hitting the campaign trail this week, battling over battleground states as well as key voting blocks. Fresh off the convention and back on the campaign trail, Tim Walz delivering remarks to the International Association of Firefighters, one of the nation's largest labor unions.
And we know that when unions are strong, America's strong.
Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate are setting their sights on Georgia this week, kicking off a bus tour aimed at reaching voters in rural parts of the state.
The road to the White House goes through Georgia.
Senator JD Vance is also hitting battleground states, including Michigan.
Michigan is leading the great American comeback, and Michigan is going to elect Donald J. Trump, the next president of the United States.
Former President Trump is facing a renewed legal battle over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Special counsel Jack Smith's office says this superseding indictment reflects the efforts to respect and implement the Supreme Court's holding. While original charges remain, some of the alleged acts Supreme Court justices ruled off limits and immune from prosecution were removed. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris is seeking to silence her critics when her and Walz have their first joint interview Thursday, something Republicans had called on her to do sooner.
Whether or not it will quiet the criticism, I think, will remains to be seen how this interview unfolds.
This is a very important interview leading into the first presidential debate.
2 weeks to go until the first Harris-Trump debate and less than 70 days until Election Day. And Vice President Kamala Harris's trip to Georgia marks her 7th visit to the state this year and her 2nd since launching her presidential campaign, signs that Georgia is once again in play this election cycle. As you may recall, President Biden narrowly won the state back in 2020. Christy?
How strong is the fight in Georgia?
It is a strong fight. As we do see Kamala Harris as well as Tim Walz going back to that state several times. And we do know that that is a state that former President Trump was in just the other day. So Georgia is at play. And in particular, we do know the Harris campaign is focusing on southern Georgia, not so much the urban areas this time around. She was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, but we do know during this trip she's focusing on trying to reach those rural voters. So Georgia is very much at play.
Yeah, and after living there for almost 20 years, I can tell you they all feel very strongly, regardless of what side of the fence they are on. Bree, so good to see you. Thank you so much for walking us through all of it today.